So, a very good morning to all of you. Myself, Amit Sinha, on the behalf of Drishti IAS, I welcome all of you to this particular video that we have planned on the topic of the optional subject of history. So, I teach here history subject in GS and optional as well. So, this is a video that has been planned for all of you to discuss various aspects of the optional subject of history. So, those who are thinking, who have decided to take history as an optional, for them this video is going to be very relevant and very useful. Now, let us discuss that why history as an optional should be opted, should be chosen by many of you. What's the relevance of history as a subject, both in optional and also in general studies? We will discuss about all these dimensions in this lecture. I will also discuss about the various aspects of the optional subject history, specifically in the context of the way to deal with the syllabus, the way to comprehensively cover the syllabus, the sources that are supposed to be referred by all of us, and the kind of questions that have been asked by UPSC in history optional. So, these all aspects are going to be discussed in this particular session, designed only for all of you in the context of optional subject, that is history. So, let us begin in detail on the discussion of history as an optional subject in this session. Fine. Now, see, we first of all have to understand a couple of very important things as far as this optional subject is concerned. So, history as an optional, why should anyone take this subject? So, let us discuss this aspect very clearly. What is the relevance of history as an optional? See, as far as subject of history is concerned, the one and the most important advantage for this subject is the content of the subject is almost constant. So, therefore, there is a constant syllabus. In other words, the element of dynamism in the syllabus of history is almost negligible, or else I would say not so important in the context of history as an optional subject. Unlike the other subjects which somebody chooses, or in the context of the relevance which is there in the other subjects from current affairs more than what we can see in the context of history. So, in nutshell, history lacks that level of dynamism. All right. In other words, history lacks the development in the form of current affairs. However, there are few areas in history where you can also witness a development in the current affairs as well, especially the areas pertaining to the syllabus of art, culture, heritage, etc. Now, in that part of syllabus, you will witness some development in the current affairs. However, the rest of the syllabus of history, they are completely constant, and hence if you prepare this syllabus in one go, in one particular let's say session, then the entire burden of preparing the syllabus time and again would be lesser in history in comparison to the other subjects as well, which are available in UPSC examination. So, primarily speaking, as far as syllabus of history is concerned, for the IAS exam, it is the most conducive, constant and consistent syllabus. And since the conducive, constant and consistent, therefore, it also helps the students to prepare it in one go, and once it is done, then they are completely having no burden in terms of updating, in terms of improving, in terms of collecting the information from the current domain overall. So, thereby once it is done, once it is prepared, your task is done completely. So, it is only, I would say, one time exercise. Since it is a one time exercise, so one time labor, your hard work would pay you the dividend thoroughly in this examination. So, in other words, कि एक बार अगर ये सिलेबस प्रिपेयर हो गया तो आपको बहुत ज़्यादा परेशान होने की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगी पूरे इस जर्नी में, एंड दैट इज़ वेयर you will achieve success very easily if you really work very diligently on the areas of general studies subjects, on the areas of the paper of your essay. And if you work upon those areas, then you are going to clear the examination in the very first attempt. So, that is basically the advantage with the syllabus of history. Fine. So, in this respect only, I would like to tell you exactly how the syllabus is going to be discussed by me in the class. And as far as my credentials or the background is concerned, I would like to tell you one thing, that I did my graduation, post-graduation from history itself from Delhi University. It was the last college I attended, it was the Hindu College of Delhi University. And that is from there my journey started in history as a subject. And I appeared for the IAS interview 3 times in 2007, 2008 and then 2010. And in all these attempts, in all the 4 attempts, I had history as a common subject, as one of the optionals in my during time of my preparation. So, that is where you can, you can be completely relying upon my statements, especially when I speak on the relevance of the subject called history. History has been my subject. This has been also my subject in this IAS examination. With this particular subject only, I have been able to qualify always for my interview. With subject only, I was able to also score very handsome marks, very good marks in my mains examination as well. So, one thing is clear, the history has given me that sort of assurance to clear this examination in every attempt, and appearing for the interview at least three times in UPSC Dhalpur House. So, that is where I can assure you that the content, the idea that I am going to deliver, that I am going to discuss with all of you, are going to be extremely relevant for all of you whosoever is watching this video right now. So, would like to attract your attention towards this particular aspect of why this subject is relevant, important, and why should we adopt, why should we actually take history as an optional for our IAS examination. Fine. Now, let us see into this aspect very clearly. See, the subject of history is first of all constant, the content of syllabus is constant, and since the content of syllabus is constant, so it is easier for you to prepare it in one go. So, it is easy to prepare. Fine, syllabus is constant, the content are available, materials are available, teachers are available, things are simple, straightforward. So, that is the reason why for any ordinary mind, it is easy for them to understand to accept the content or the entire details of history in optional paper as well. So, that is what actually is the advantage. Then you can also see that it is easy to prepare, but at the same time the syllabus is slightly voluminous. The syllabus is slightly voluminous. What I wanted to simply indicate to all of you, the content of the syllabus of history is quite big. Big why? Because we have to understand about history in various domain, in various aspects. History of India can be broadly classified into ancient, medieval, modern and also the post-modern era. So, in nutshell, you are supposed to prepare the syllabus of ancient, syllabus of medieval, modern and post-modern era, Besides these all contents of the syllabus, you are also supposed to prepare the syllabus of even world history. Fine. And since there are two papers in optional paper, there are two papers in optional subject particularly. So, in paper number 1, you have the content of the syllabus of both ancient and medieval India. And option number 2, that is subject of history, you have two optional papers in fact that way. The option number 2, you have the contents of the syllabus of modern, post-modern and the world history. So, paper 1 will have the syllabus of ancient medieval, paper 2 will have syllabus of modern, post-modern and the world history. So, that is how the two papers would be conducted, would be examined as an optional subject in UPSC, and that is exactly you have to understand that this is the relevance of this entire particular subjects, or I would say the entire components of history, and exactly the reason why it is quite voluminous, because you have to understand we are supposed to prepare history of India right from ancient to modern time or the contemporary era to some extent as well, and also beyond that history of India in the context of also including the contents of world history as well. Hence, it is voluminous. So, therefore, this task is done with lot of patience. So, you need to develop patience while dealing with the subject matter of history, because a long, voluminous content is there. So, long duration classes will also be done, but not beyond, let us say, I would say more than 4.5 months is required to complete the syllabus of history. So, within the 4.5 months, the entire syllabus of history would be completed in the classes itself. Fine, that is one thing that I would like to assure to all of you. Another important thing about the relevance of this subject of history, it is relevant everywhere, not only as an optional, but at the same time it is relevant in the context of GS paper 1 directly and other papers also indirectly. There is also relevant in the context of essay topics as well. So, history as a subject is relevant for the optional subject, that is one thing. Second, it is directly asked also in GS paper 1, somewhere around between 75 to 100 marks. So, between 75 to 100 marks questions are asked to you directly in GS as well in paper 1. So, there also history is going to play a very important role. And then in essay as well, you are asked various topics in essay which are having direct relevance from the topic of history. For example, they had asked you a question perhaps in 2021 mains examination. The question was asked to you in the context of that civilization declines, but culture never declined. The statement of essay was the civilization declines, but culture never declines. This was the topic of essay. So, there are many such kind of topics. So, that is exactly you have to understand with a topic that is pertaining to culture, art, civilization, society, etc., which are asked to you also in essay paper, they all could be written, okay, rather I would say they all would be written very clearly, very, I would say emphatically, once you have a knowledge of or the content of history as well into that. So, in nutshell, the idea is history is relevant in all of these areas directly, but at the same time, if you talk about indirect relevance of history, then you can also see the other papers of GS. For example, GS paper number 2. Now, paper of GS, that is number 2, here you have a syllabus of polity, governance, international relations, etc. Now, here the content of IR, international relations. Now, you cannot actually do justice in writing an answer on IR without getting into the bottom of those all issues, and that you can learn only through going through the content of world history. So, world history is going to also help you in developing a sound understanding in the subject matter of even international relations. So, that's the reason why I told you that there is a direct relevance of the syllabus or the content of history to your syllabus of GS, optional and even essay, and there are also some indirect relevance of the content of history in your GS paper 2 as well. Fine. So, that is where you have to understand, and same also is applied in the case of even the ethics paper. Many of the issues of history, the stories of history, the examples of history, you can include in qualifying your statement in the GS paper 4 of ethics. So, that is the reason why you can understand that the idea of knowledge of history is going to play a very significant role in your overall success as well. So, hence the relevance of history could easily be ascertained by these all particular examples. Fine. So, having said that, this is why one should opt the history as an option. So, that is what actually was the first point that I wanted to inform to all of you. Then you see how to go about history optional. So, how to go about the history as an optional? That is another interesting thing for all of you to actually understand at the outset. See, the first and the foremost thing, there are two ways to prepare history as an optional. One is the classroom program. Another one is self-study. Now, as far as classroom program is concerned, it has the complete advantage over any other method of studying the subject matter of history. Reason being why, let me tell you. In the classroom program, studying history would become very conducive, very easy as well. Reason being, in the classroom program will be well structured, well planned in the context of delivering the content of all the chapters of history. So, all the chapters will be covered in detail in the class. Fine. At the same time, there are few particular contents of your syllabus or the questions, the way it is asked to you, such as let us say the map work. The map work is asked to you in paper number 1 of your history optional. Now, this map work would be done also in the classes comprehensively. So, that is also an advantage. The third, you will be actually having the printed materials, printed notes supplied to you by Drishti IAS. So, the best compiled notes on history that is available anywhere in this country. It is there in Drishti IAS. So, the entire content of history, that is such a vast content of history, all have been compiled in the 4 different booklets: ancient, medieval, modern, world, and these 4 booklets along with also booklet of map. So, there are in fact 5 booklets that will be given to you once you take admission in Drishti IAS in that way. But the point is, let me tell you what actually is the advantage of going through the classroom program. So, in classroom program, these all things were delivered to you, and that too in a time bound manner. That is very important, time bound manner. Now, this time bound manner is very important aspect of an entire journey of preparation. So, I just told you that 4.5 months is sufficient to complete the syllabus of your history overall, that too very meticulously. I mean, one can go for teaching, one can go for discussing the syllabus history for even for a year. Why? Because fundamentally you can understand one very important thing, that I mean many of you like me as well, we have studied history for 3 years in graduation. We have studied history for 2 years in master's program. So, effectively 5 years we were there to study the entire content of history with some sort of a specialization in masters. So, therefore, it is very incumbent upon you to understand that it takes 5 years to understand the lot of things in history. That too, some of the pockets of history remain untouched also in the masters or master's program. So, even though it is, if 5 years was involved in completing the syllabus of the content of history with some sort of a specialization in some department or some areas or some sections, now you have to understand the same content has to be delivered in the classes. So, obviously, it is definitely a very important challenge for any teacher or any faculty who teach or rather who are involved in teaching history. So, therefore, what I said just now, 4.5 months would be sufficient to complete the syllabus of the history in a time bound manner. Fine. At the same time, if you go by the self study program, then I am afraid to say, in self study program, if someone is going, I mean if someone is not having any background in history, even though if you are a graduate from history or you are a student from history background, even though the kind of syllabus mentioned by UPSC in this examination, it is difficult, it is practically impossible to prepare the entire content of a syllabus even within a year. Even within a year, if you are going through the self study program. Fine, because fundamentally speaking, to prepare only the segment, let us say talk about ancient or medieval or modern India, you at least have to go through 5 or 6 books. If I tell you some of the books, let us talk about the books as well, because some of you might be interested only in knowing the books. So, if that is your interest area in watching this video, let me tell you then, only in the syllabus of ancient India, you are supposed to go through at least 3-4 books, and you have to list those number of the books. You have to start definitely from scratch, and it is obviously the old NCERT of class 11th of R.S. Sharma. So, that is the basic book to start with, and then you have many other books also which is actually going to give you the advanced knowledge in the subject matter. Fine. For example, the latest book of Upender Singh will help you a lot in getting the advanced knowledge, but it is a very voluminous book. A book is having more than 600 pages, and that one page is almost equivalent to the 4 pages of normal book. So, effectively you are supposed to go through almost more than 2000 words, 2000 pages in this book. So, that is what actually is the difficulty in going through only the ancient India. Then the same difficulty is also there in the syllabus of medieval India. अगर मैं आपको साफ शब्दों में बताऊं, if you have to go for self study, then what you are supposed to do, you are supposed to read many books in ancient India, so also in case of medieval India, so also in case of modern India, so also in case of postmodern India, and then also in the case of world history. Fine. Well, only in ancient India, you were supposed to at least go through the voluminous books like, I mean, of course, the NCERT is one particular book, which is a basic book, but at the same time, you have to go through at least the books like Upendra Singh, L. Basham, D.N. Jha, etc. Fine. Then will you be able to cover the syllabus of ancient India comprehensively, otherwise not. Otherwise, it's not possible. Fine. The same thing is also applied for medieval India. You have to cover the books like Satish Chandra, Irfan Habib, compulsorily only for medieval India. Fine. So, again, it's not a small exercise, not an easy exercise. You can understand one important thing, that there are 2 volumes of medieval India authored by a great historian of this country named Satish Chandra. And then so also in the case of Irfan Habib. Fine. So, he has written medieval India separately, and then also the chapters on specific contributions on medieval India of Delhi Sultanate and also the Mughal Empire. So, how many books would you be able to go through? Of course, it's not humanly possible. It is possible only if you are a student of a graduation program for 3 years, then you can devote the time to read through or go through these all books. But here, for IAS examination, you have a limited time. You have come here to prepare the entire syllabus within a year, so that next year only you can write the exam and qualify this exam. There's a fundamental difference between what you study history in academics, what you study history for IAS examination. Fine. So, here you have to understand, in medieval India also the same list of books are there. So, also in case of modern India, there is a list of books. Books start right from Bipin Chandra onwards to Shekhar Bandyopadhyay to many other latest books as well. So, how many books would you read again in modern India? So, there is an endless list of the name of the books. Fine. So, that is exactly the reason that why it is advisable for any serious student to start working right from the very first day in a very organized and structured manner. And there you have the advantage of your classroom program. Fine. That is what actually is the reason that I advise every serious student that if you are really serious to qualify this exam in or within couple of years, then you have to ensure right from the very first day you join a classroom program, because you will be able to cover syllabus faster than others, and that is what actually this is a race. We have to win the race with a smart planning and better execution of your plan. That is possible only through this sort of structure. So, then how to go about history syllabus, I have given some idea. I can give you some more ideas regarding the postmodern books and books on world history. Alright, that is what you have to understand. There is no end of this list of the books. I only in my graduation read at least more than 10 books only in world history. Only on world history I read more than 10 books during my graduation. So, that is something you have to understand. It is not possible for you to advise all those 10 books to read for world history. Fine. That is where you have to understand the relevance of the classroom program. तो ये भी आप कर सकते हैं, लेकिन इसमें आपकी सफलता शायद 2-3 वर्षों बाद मिलेगी आपको. So, if you have that plan, a long term planning, that you want to write the exam maybe 2-3 years, after 2-3 years, maybe want to qualify after 5 years, then go for this sort of plan. ये long term planning का program है, plan है. But if you really are serious to qualify the exam by 2026-27 itself, this is a high time to join the classroom program of history. Fine. So, that is what actually I want to tell you, the how to go about history as an optional. That is a primary requirement. Fine. Apart from this, if somebody wants to take interest or rather has been generating interest in history, they must start with the NCERT textbooks. That to the old NCERT textbooks of class 11th and class 12th. Fine. Those who have problem in reading the history, let's say the textbook in English medium, for them, if I have to suggest the Tamil Nadu board. SCERT textbook on history is also relevant. At least you can go through the class 11th textbook. That's a basic textbook altogether. Basic textbook altogether. Fine. So that's what actually either of these two you can start with. In the meantime, before you meet me in the class or the classroom program. So either of these two, I would suggest those who are actually having problem in reading the voluminous books, I will suggest to those guys to go through this book. Those who are comfortable in reading the history textbooks and they are also comfortable with the words and vocabulary used in history, then you go through this textbook. Fine, depending upon your ability, your comfortability, you can opt either of these two. You have to opt or either this or this. This is a basic reading I am suggesting to all of you. Fine, that's how you can start with the syllabus of history. Now coming to the syllabus only, let's see the syllabus in detail. What all things are you supposed to understand in history? You can see history optional syllabus is very voluminous. You have the chapters like sources, where archaeological sources, etc. are covered in the very first chapter. Then you can also see after this you have the Indus Valley civilization, prehistory, proto-history, Indus civilization, megalithic culture, Aryans, Vedic period, etc. This is all the content of only of your ancient history. Then you have a content of period of Mahajanpadas, Mauryan Empire, etc. You can see on your screen that is all contents are there of your syllabus of only ancient India, post-modern period, early state and society in Eastern India, Deccan, South India. This is again a very difficult, let's say, proposition for every student who prepare this syllabus of history. But still, I'll give you some idea how it can be prepared. Then Guptas, Vakatakas, Vardhans, regional states during Gupta era. These all are the part of your ancient Indian syllabus, ancient history syllabus itself. Then you have themes in early Indian culture history. Again, this is something you hardly prepare. You don't have any source. But in the class, you will have the entire content of the syllabus as well in detail. Then you have early medieval India. Again, a particular content which is lacking, a content lacking in the books or the material available in the market. Fine. So again, this is going to be covered in ancient India. Then you have the Cholas, the Chola society, cultural traditions, India around 750 to 100 CE. The religion, another interesting chapter of your syllabus. Then you have 13th century, that is Sultanate, series syllabus of medieval India started from this. Fine, you can see here, Alauddin Khilji, society, culture, society, these all things are there in syllabus 15th century. Rise of provincial dynasties like Malwa, Behmani, Vijayanagar. Then 15th century, early 16th century, Akbar's era. This is how Mughal era, this is how the syllabus is there. Such a voluminous syllabus of paper 1 itself. We have syllabus of also the medieval India. In paper 1, you have the Mughal Empire, 18th century development. Then you have paper 2. That's how with the Mughal Empire, the paper 1 is completed. Then you have syllabus of GS paper, optional paper 2, history optional paper 2 in the context of this all content, which is definitely on modern India and the history of world. So even in this content, you have a lot of chapters like European penetration, chapters like British expansion, early structure British Raj, economic impact of British colonial rule, then social cultural developments, then social religious reform movements in Bengal and other parts of India, then Indian response to British rule, that is national movement in that way. Then you have factors leading to birth of international nationalism. Then you have rise of Gandhi. Then you have constitutional developments. Then you have other strands of national movement. Then you have politics of separatism, of Muslim League, consolidation and as a nation, that is post-independence. This from here only syllabus of post-independence started. Alright, this is the post-modern era syllabus. You have consolidation as nation, Nehru's foreign policy, etc. Just what I just told you. Because this particular syllabus will also help you in developing understanding on IR or international relations as well. So this is what actually you have to cover this all political content. Fine. So that's how the syllabus of postmodern era covers this all content till here. And then from here you have a syllabus of world history. We have to discuss about enlightenment, modern ideas, etc. Then origin of modern politics, then industrialization, then nation state system, imperialism and colonialism, revolution of and counter revolution, then world wars, world war after World War II, or the world after World War II. Then you have liberation from colonial rule, decolonization, underdevelopment, etc. Now see, these all are the content of your world history. Then last is the disintegration of Soviet Russia. So that's how the syllabus is quite vast even for world history. Fine. And that's what actually is the importance of your entire syllabus. Fine. So this entire syllabus can't be done on your own within, let's say, 4, 5 or even 6 months. You can do it, but it will take you maybe more than a couple of years to cover the entire syllabus of world history or a syllabus of entire history in that way. Hence, classroom program is the only solution to cover the syllabus in one go in a comprehensive manner. And once it is done, it is done. It is done, because after that you don't have to bother about your optional subject paper. And the importance of this optional subject paper is this, that you write any examination, whether it is of UPSC, of civil service examination, or any other examination conducted by UPSC itself, like CDS, etc., all examination would be comfortable for you as far as once you have done your entire syllabus of history. So that's an advantage of, or advantage with the syllabus of history for all of you. Fine. Now having said that, let's also understand some of the very important aspects of the kind of question that is also asked to you in your GS paper from history. So in GS paper equally, history is so relevant. You can see every year this sort of questions have been asked to you by UPSC in the mains examination. For example, you can see in 2023, only from history, if we have to classify history content into the context of heritage and culture, modern India, postmodern and world history, because these are the syllabus also for your GS paper 1. Fine, it is equally relevant in the context of your prelims examination as well. However, in prelims you won't be asked a question from these two areas. Alright, so in prelims these two areas will not be asked to you as a question, at least directly. Indirectly anything can be asked to you in prelims, but the point is there is no question directly asked to you in prelims of these two parts of the syllabus. But on the other hand, these two are equally very relevant as far as your prelims syllabus of UPSC examination is concerned, alright, or IAS examination is concerned. So thereby history is going to help you at every stage of this examination. For example, you can see also in the mains examination how it is going to help you. History questions they have been asking from heritage and culture, at least 3 questions was asked only in 2023. So also in case of modern India, 2 questions were asked in 2023. So also in case of world history, 1 question was asked in 2023. See the trend of the questions being asked to you every year from history component in your GS paper as well. तो कहने का मतलब ये है कि ऑप्शनल में तो हिस्ट्री रेलेवेंट है ही, जीएस में भी ये काफी रोल प्ले करता है आपके फुल्ली और फाइनल सक्सेस में. सो देयरफॉर हिस्ट्री इज द मोस्ट opted subject among the students for or of this examination that is properly known as IAS examination. However, it is called as civil service examination. So the idea is for CSE examination, history is the most opted optional subject paper, and that's exactly, you have to understand, it is the most popular subject. It is all because of couple of reasons. One is syllabus is constant, and knowingly unknowingly you all guys must have also been part of this so-called WhatsApp university, and you must be also knowing about a lot of things already beforehand in your domain, which is completely coming through some of the information based upon historical events in the past. So, that sort of ideas you must be already having. So, the idea is this is what actually relevance of history as an optional paper for all of you as well. Fine. Now, having said that, let us also understand about the kind of questions that are being asked to you always there in your examination. I have got this particular paper of 2024. I just want to discuss about nature of questions that are being asked to you in your mains examination and how it is going to be relevant for all of you from the classes itself. You can see here you are supposed to write question number 1 and 5 compulsorily in this particular paper of paper number 1 of your history optional. 1 and 5 are compulsory question, and then 3 are to be attempted and 1 has to be selected from any of the components, or I would say the classifications. So, there are two groupings, A and B grouping in the questions. You can see here the section A, question number 1 is always compulsory and it is on map work. It is on the map work. This is basically the mapping that is also required to be learnt in ancient India. Fine. So, this is very important, very relevant. Let me tell you, this is the most scoring, I would say, the question every time asked in UPSC mains examination. So, there you can excel like anything. So, there are almost 20, let us say, the mapping sites given to you, and you have to explain those sites in the context of already given, I would say, hint that is there in this particular map itself. So, they have already given you the hint, you have to only locate those particular site and then you have to discuss, you have to give details upon the information, regarding that particular site which has been asked to you in these all 20 questions. So, the question number 1 is always compulsory in that way, fine, and then afterwards you have to opt any of the one question from each of the sections. So, in section A, you have the questions on map, and then also you have the questions of ancient India, like A, B, C here is on ancient India, on the topic of Harappa, megalithic culture, and even the Western Chhatrapas. Then you have question number 3, again you have A, B, C, alright, it is on Buddhist tradition, it is on role of Buddhism in modern empire, it is on the state institution in Rigvedic and later Vedic empire or period in that way. So, 3 you will be having subsection A, B, C, and all of these are compulsory. Then you have to, the idea is you have to opt any one of these 4 questions. See, once again let me tell you what actually I am trying to explain to you. The question number 1 that is based on mapping is compulsory, fine. Then afterwards you have to also understand there is another compulsory question, that is question number 5. It is also compulsory. We have to write about in 150 words on the various aspects of this particular question. Fine, like main features of Western style, Firoz Shah Tughlaq economic policy, then contribution of Kalandaria, medieval Kalandaria was a sect, Sufi sect. So, in medieval Indian culture, then you have to write about Malwa school of painting, then write about highlight features of Portuguese colonial empire, fine, enterprise. These are the questions, alright, in your section 2. So, what actually they are asking? They are asking you to write these 2 compulsory, question number 1 and 5 are compulsory. Question 1 and 5, this question number are compulsory, and then afterwards you have to write 3 more, and these 3 more you have to select 2 from either of these 2 sections or 1 from either of these 2 sections. मतलब एक ही पेपर में उन्होंने 2 सेक्शंस बना दिए हैं, सेक्शन ए, सेक्शन बी. सेक्शन ए का एक क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 वो कंपलसरी है, बी का नंबर 1 वो भी कंपलसरी है. In that way, number 1 and 5 are compulsory. And then afterwards, you have to write 3 more questions. Fine. And there you have to select at least 1 from any of these 2 sections. चाहे वो सेक्शन ए से हो जाए, सेक्शन बी से हो जाए, एक क्वेश्चन आपको किसी न किसी से सिलेक्ट करना है. सपोज कीजिए, मैं एग्जांपल देता हूं, that you understand medieval India better than ancient India. Suppose, or rather you find questions on medieval India are more simpler, straightforward than the questions of ancient India. You can opt 2 questions only from medieval India, 1 from ancient India, or either of these 2 way, or else if you are finding with yourself better in ancient India, you can opt 2 questions from ancient India and 1 from medieval India. That's how you are going to complete the entire paper. Fine. This exactly was, or rather this is exactly what they have been asking you in every paper of your optional, history optional in that way. Fine. So, that is the relevance of your syllabus, or in fact, I would say the kind of questions being asked to you in your examination. So, also in case of paper 2, in paper 2 as well, they have been asking you the question in similar fashion. Again, the question number 1 and 5 are compulsory, and you have to now write 3 more from either of these 2 sections. All right. I mean, the same way, same formula you have to apply in your optional number 2 of your history paper. So, this particular paper number 2 of history optional, same formula you have to apply, where 1 and 5 are going to be compulsory, which means this question is compulsory. These all questions you have to write compulsorily. Fine. 1 number is compulsory, then again this 5 number is also compulsory. Fine, you have to write it compulsory. Then after that, you can opt any one of these. So, the first part is in modern India. So, if you are feeling better in modern India, or rather you find questions better in modern India, you can opt any one of these. Either question number 2, but 2 have to be done completely, A, B, C completely. If you opt 3, 3 have to be done, or 3 has to be done completely. A, B, C is also there in 3. If you opt 4, you have to do completely, A, B, C completely. ऐसा नहीं हो जाए कि 4 में A भी लिख दिया, C का आपने, या 3 का आपने C लिख दिया. It's not like that. You have to opt all the questions compulsorily. That's option is there. Either you can opt number 4, 3 or 2, whatever suits you. Fine. Same formula have to apply in the questions of world history. So, if you find yourself better in world history, you have to opt 2. I mean, if 5 you have to write compulsory, then 6 A, B, C. Either you can opt this particular segment of group of segments of questions. You can also opt 7 A, B, C group of questions. So, 1 this, 2 this and 3 would have to be, a completely would have to be from this segment of modern India. तो कहने का मतलब ये है कि जहां भी आप अपने आप को कंफर्टेबल फील करते हैं क्वेश्चन पेपर देखने के बाद, आप उस हिसाब से अपना ऑप्शन सिलेक्ट कर सकते हैं. तो दैट्स आइडिया इज very simple for all of you to understand that you have to write almost 5 questions in each paper of history. 1 and 5 of each paper of history are going to be compulsory, where you don't have any scope to skip that. On the other hand, the rest 3 questions which you have to write in each paper of history, you have to select at least one, a minimum of 1 from any of these 2 sections, section A or section B. And from other sections, you have to opt at least 2 questions to write the complete paper. That's how you're going to complete the entire paper of your, both the paper number 1 and 2 of your history optional. That is how the papers are designed by UPSC in your examination. Fine. And that's what actually you have to understand. The coverage have to be done comprehensively, then only you would be able to write these all answers there in your examination. Fine. And this is definitely not possible without a proper guidance, proper mentoring, proper teaching in the class. So, exactly my purpose was to enlighten you on the issue of why attending the classes of history optional is going to be important, is going to be extremely relevant and going to pay you the desired dividend in near future because of this particular reason itself. Because there are 2 challenges on your part. One is to cover syllabus of history, that too comprehensively. Second is to also understand the nature or the demand of questions being asked in history. So, questions are also being asked very typically in history. For example, let me tell you some example also why I am sharing this particular fact. If you see this particular fact that what kind of question has been asked to you in your last year mains examination. You can see on your screen right now, if I have to enlarge it so that you can understand what I am trying to explain to you. Now you see here, I don't know whether you are able to read it or not, but still I can read it for all of you. Harappan art contributes to our understanding of the aesthetic sensibilities in addition to spiritual and ritualistic life. Comment. These words also mean a lot. Comment, explain, discuss, etc. So definitely we will discuss about all these things as well in our classes. So the classes that ensure that everyone who's sitting in the class must learn how to also write an answer there in the examination. So there would be regular test, class test, every the class writing will be done in front of me. I ensure everyone should develop a very skillful writing to get handsome marks in history as an optional paper. Fine. That is going to be my assurance for all of you. Now see this question. In this question also they are asking you, they write this answer in the context of comment. The comment doesn't mean that you have to give your own comment. Comment का मतलब ये नहीं कि आप वो अपना comment दे रहे हैं इसके ऊपर. It does simply means that you have to actually explain whether you agree with the statement or not. If you don't, it don't mean that you have to write that I don't agree or rather I agree. No, not like this way. आपको ऐसा नहीं लिखना है कि I agree, I don't agree on the statement. Rather, you have to explain the statement, why the statement has been made by somebody or by anyone, any scholar, and what exactly is the standard opinion regarding this statement among the historians, or there is a consensus among the historians on the standard viewpoint on this particular statement. So this exactly is going to be your comment, not your personal comment, rather comment of the scholars. So in that way, it is relevant. You have to explain the Harappan art contributes to our understanding of aesthetic sensibilities in addition to spiritual and ritualistic life. So you have to explain the relevance of Harappan art not only from the perspective of any aesthetic sense, which means a sense of beauty. Aestheticism means to appreciate something which is quite beautiful. So beautiful structure is called as aesthetic structure. So the sense of beauty in any structure is called as aestheticism. So aesthetic sense you have to highlight in the Harappan arts, whether there was any aesthetic sense or not. Second, you have to also highlight the role of those Harappan art in the context of explaining the spiritual and ritualistic lifestyle of the Harappans. So what kind of religious, spiritual, ritualism they were followed by the Harappans, we have to explain by explaining their art forms. By explaining their art forms as an example to vindicate our point in this particular question. So there are two views on the Harappan art form. First, there is a view that Harappan art form was devoid of aestheticism. That's interesting. Just now I told you there are two views of the scholars on the Harappan art form. The first view is the Harappan art form was devoid of, it means it did not have the so-called aesthetic sense, the way we witness in the art form of the later Harappan times in India, especially during the Mauryan times in India. Rather, the Mauryan art form was having more aesthetic sensibilities than the Harappan art form. That's the standard opinion of the scholars. At the same time, you have to also highlight, even though if the Harappan art form was lacking the aesthetic sensibilities, at least this art form explain very beautifully about the spiritual and ritualistic traditions of the Harappan people at that point of time. How? For example, if they have constructed the image, mother goddess image. So, mother goddess image has been found in various forms. One very prominent form was the image of Mother Goddess in terracotta figurine. In terracotta figurine. So, terracotta means baked clay. मिट्टी को पका के बनाया हुआ जो मूर्ति था उसको कहते हैं terracotta. So, it was baked clay that was used by the Harappas largely to manufacture their image, their sculptures. So, they were constructing this form of image. At the same time, they were also constructing image in the form of bronze or bronze items. However, the bronze item image is of a dancing girl as given as opined by John Marshall. So, the idea is this sort of image was also found from Harappan art forms. There also we have found the image of many of those, let us say, ritualistic and the spiritual purposes on the Harappan seals. So, in nutshell, the idea is what art form do we have as an example over here? So, we have the example over here in the form of various items like terracotta figurines. The bronze images, a bronze image particularly, then also the seals and ceilings. Fine, then also the images of Mother Goddess mainly. So, these are the art forms that we have found. Fine. So, in this art form, you have to only explain how these actually explain also the spiritual and ritualistic lifestyle of the Harappan people. Fine. So, you have to highlight that we have found in one of the seals a person having yogic posture. Alright, the person was in the yogic posture. The person who was in yogic posture indicates that yoga was being done by Harappans, indicating what? A spiritual lifestyle. Fine. So, also in case of the dancing girl, image of dancing girl, it indicates what? Perhaps some ritualistic lifestyle. Alright, because we have to understand that this ritualism of dancing or ritualism of dance became popular in India in the ancient period, especially in the form of temple dance forms. So, probably temple dance form may have been inspired from the Harappan culture practices itself. Alright, that is the point. That is what I have to highlight. The image of Mother Goddess, perhaps it was made for worshipping purposes, as rituals as well. So, these sort of ideas you have to explain in the questions. So, here comes I would say the role of a teacher to teach you about these all dimensions in a comprehensive manner in the class. Then only you would be able to not only understand the demand of the questions, but also write the answers with confidence and comfort in the mains examination. That is what actually was my point before all of you, to make you understand about the relevance of the classes. Fine. And the top of these all issues, if I have to tell you one small thing, that in the class in one go you can understand the entire syllabus of every chapter, or every chapter, I would say like this way. For example, if I have to tell you one small example as a specimen to make you understand and realize about the importance of the classes of mine here in Drishti IAS on history as an optional subject, you can only understand if you relate this entire thing in the context of this as an example. See, I am giving an example how the classes are going to help you a lot. If I take one example for all of you to make you understand exactly how the class is going to be relevant for all of you, because this you can't learn, this you can't actually learn without the teachings of the classes or the teachings of your faculty here in Drishti IAS. So, that is exactly you have to understand. If you join the classes of mine in Drishti IAS on history optional subject, how it is going to help you a lot in preparing the entire syllabus in a time bound manner, that too in a very interesting way to learn history. Let me tell you how this is an interesting way. If I have to tell you one small example to only understand the history of South India. I am giving a small example just to make you understand, or rather ensure that I can teach. All right, that I can teach you. I mean, something you have to understand. When you don't interact with the teacher, you don't know the teacher particularly, personally, you always have a fear of unknown. ये हमेशा होता है, मेरे साथ भी था, आपके साथ भी साथ होता होगा ही. So you always have a fear of unknown. That's the reason why I'm giving you a small specimen to make you understand that you will be extremely benefited if you join the classes of History Optional in Drishti IAS, in the classes of mine, the class of Amit Sinha, how it is going to help you a lot. Let me tell you. History of South India is one topic which you have to understand. In ancient India, in paper 1 of History Optional. Now, how am I going to teach you in the class? That is also important for you to understand and to realize it here itself. See, history of South India is traced right from the Paleolithic age. It continued also till the era of Neolithic age, and then we witness the development in the field of one important age in South India called as Megalithic age. Then Megalithic age gave a shape to the emergence of some civilizations in South India called as Thamira-Barni civilization. Then it also led to the birth of another civilization called as Kiladi civilization. Fine, and then it led to the birth of another culture that is called as Sangam period in the history of South India. From 300 BCE onwards till 300 CE. Fine, the Sangam period is known because of Sangam literature written in Tamil language. Now, see, this is one particular phase of history of South India. Now, in this history of South India, we trace the history of South India right from the Stone Age era. So, from the Stone Age era, we trace the beginning of history of South India, and this era has given a very interesting culture in South India called as megalithic culture, where the culture was known because of the use of megaliths. Megaliths means big stones. So, they were using big stones for designing their burial system. Burial means the graveyard. So, the burial practices were interestingly designed in typical manner. All right, they should arrange the stones near to the graveyard. तो जहाँ पर डेड बॉडीज को दफनाते थे, उनके आसपास वो पत्थर रख देते थे, बड़े बड़े पत्थर. और वो एक स्पेशल डिजाइन होता है पत्थर का, उसको कहते हैं मेगालिथिक मॉन्यूमेंट्स, megalithic structure. So, they were having this particular culture in South India who were actually living a life like this way. They were called as megalithic people. This culture gave a birth to the first civilization in South India like Thamira-Barni into this Tamil Nadu. Into this Tamil Nadu, this civilization actually got emerged somewhere around 1155 BCE. Now, this civilization, I'm pretty sure that you must have not even gone through this civilization because it is not has been covered even in your history textbooks as of now. Thamira-Barni Kiladi civilizations were in current affairs news because these two civilizations have been recently excavated by the ASI and the government of Tamil Nadu in today's Tamil Nadu itself. Fine, and they claim that they already had a ancient civilization in the past as well, belonging to around 1155 BCE called as Thamirabarni and 600 BCE called as Kiladi civilization. And the civilization was based upon one particular structure called as town. So, they also had the town planning or town features were there in this civilization. So, they were living in towns at that point of time. Fine. So, it was not only Harappa that in North India, Northwest India, the Harappas were not the only one who were living in the towns. Rather, in the case of even South India, we have had the town dwellers, and the town dwellers were there in the context of these all Thamirabarni and Kiladi civilizations. And then we witness the Sangam period. This is the period of 300 to 300 BC to 300 CE. In this period, we have got the first literature, or literary evidence in the form of Sangam literature, written in Tamil language. So, from this period, or rather in this period, we know about the eras of Cheras, Cholas and Pandyas of South India. So, we discuss in detail about the Sangam period in the class as well. So, see, after this what happened? From 300 CE onwards till 600 CE, this era is called as era of Kalabharas. That is control of some barbaric or uncivilized people in the territory of South India. So, this period of history of South India is called as era of Kalabharas by the historians, because we have less idea or almost no idea, no knowledge what actually transpired in this 300 years of history of South India. Hence, some of the scholars have also rated this period as the era of dark age. Fine, this period has also been called by some of the scholars as the era of dark age because of lack of information with the historians, with the scholars who work on the history of South India. Then what we witness the emergence of a new era. From 600 CE onwards till 900 CE, we see a very contrasting development in South India. First one was Pallava dynasty emerged in South India in this period. Pallavas of Kanchipuram. Then second, Chalukyas of Badami emerged in this period. Especially it was emerging in Karnataka, it was emerging in Tamil Nadu, in South India. Then see the Pandyas of Madurai resurrected itself in today's southern part of Tamil Nadu. So, see in this era you can see the eras of Pallavas, Chalukyas and Pandyas once again South India. And then we have discussed about the contributions of all these political dynasties in South India. Then see after this what happened. Between 900 to 1200 CE, various changes took place in South India. Pallavas were replaced by the Cholas of Tanjore in South India. Chalukyas replaced by the Rajputas of Manyakhet in the Deccan part of India, precisely in the area of today's Maharashtra and Karnataka border. Fine, Pandyas continued to survive, but as a minor power, as a small power over here. Fine. So this period is known for the era of imperial Cholas of Tanjore in South India. Then see, after this, from 1200 to 1400 CE, in this period Cholas declined, Rashtrakutas declined, replaced by the powers like Yadavas of Devagir in Maharashtra, Kakatyas of Warangal in Andhra Pradesh, Hoysalas of Dwar Samudra in today's Karnataka. Dwar Samudra means today's Halebidu in Karnataka. Then the Pandyas became the major power in Madurai in this period. So see, in this period, how many dynasties emerged in South India? 1. Yadavas, 2. Kakatyas, 3. Hoysalas, 4th Pandyas of Madurai, and 5th also the Eastern Chalukyas of Vengi. Eastern Chalukyas of Vengi on the coast of today's Andhra Pradesh. So see, in this period, some new dynasties also emerged. And then afterwards, what happened in South India? Delhi Sultanate continued to dominate South India. Delhi Sultanate dominated the South Indian politics as well afterwards. But in this phase of time, various developments took place in the history of South India. And the one very interesting development for all of you is to understand about the development of Dravida and the Vesara style of temple architecture. So many temples were constructed in South India during this phase of time. So see, this is how we understand the history of South India. And the point is, to understand this entire development, I mean, people take months to even realize about or acknowledge about what actually went in the history of South India in a very organized manner. So this exactly is going to be the method of teaching in the class. You would be able to understand and appreciate each and every development in the history of India, in the history of world in the classes itself. And with this sort of development, you can understand at least one thing at this moment, that I have taken hardly 5 or 10 minutes at the max, to explain the entire idea of history of South India before all of you. This exactly I told you that it is possible, that too in a very practical manner, to complete the entire syllabus within 4.5 months, that too with complete satisfaction for all of you. Fine. And that's how we are going to cover the syllabus also in the classes, and the classes are going to be started very soon, which will be notified by Drishti IAS before all of you. Now, in this backdrop only, I wanted to tell you that yes, you will be enlightened, yes, you will be receiving all the content, all the solution, and top of that, the guidance, mentorship, and the teaching of a person like me, who already had appeared for the IAS interview 3 times out of 4 attempts of mine in my life. So there you are going to be in the safe hand for sure, safe hand on both the fronts, on the front of Drishti management, Drishti service support system, at the same time the context of teaching of mine in the classes as well. So I am looking forward for all of you to join the classes, and then we can have the chit chat and interaction with all of you individually also in the class. And I believe and hope that all of you are satisfied with this sort of small video or lecture that I planned for all of you to actually ensure to make you comfortable that you are going to be in a safer hand, in the most safer hand in this entire industry of teaching the syllabus of UPSC. So that's how join Drishti IAS join my classes on history optional. I am looking forward for all of you. Fine. So, wish you all the best. See you soon in the formal history classes over or in the Drishti IAS on the platform of Drishti IAS very soon. Fine. So, now Amit Sinha signing off this entire lecture at this moment itself, and I hope and I wish all the best for all of you, whosoever is wishing or willing to join the classes over here and then have the personal guidance and interaction with me. Fine. See you then. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.